Hello and welcome to the 19th episode of Jedi Eternal. I'm one of your hosts, Andrew Bolin, alongside the new college graduate, Braxton Taylor.
Yes, it's been a long time coming, boys.
Very proud of him, and he's finally a free man,
Yeah.
ready to go make some bank.
Make some bank. Yeah, I know. I've been working on this degree for far too long.
You can go in the comments and congratulate him for a
you
job well done.
Want to PayPal me any money, anything? My PayPal. No, I'm just kidding.
But anyways, we're thankful that all you guys are listening today. We've got a lot of interesting news today to talk about, some interesting rumors that we'll be getting to, but I think we have something else.
Yes, we want to stop for just a second here before we get too much further. We do have a little special announcement here, but we want to wish our good friend Joshin Birkinshaw a very, very happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
now, he
Joshin.
will be a special young lady named Rachel, whom I believe you know, alerted to us that your birthday is this coming Monday on June the 1st. So we just want to wish you a very happy birthday. In all seriousness, man, we just want to wish you a happy birthday. Hope you have a good day. We wouldn't normally do this for everybody.
This is special treatment. Not everybody gets this kind of treatment.
One of the very first people who supported our podcast at the very beginning, has been here since the beginning. So, buddy, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, I hope it's the best one you've had yet.
Yeah, exactly. So
we appreciate all that you have done for our podcast, just in listening and communicating with us, and it's made us feel more legit than you know what I mean, that feel like we're actually doing something. So we really appreciate you. And how old do we know how old he's turning?
I don't know how old he's turning, but
whatever age you're turning, congratulations.
Rachel didn't tell me that part, so. But anyway, happy birthday, buddy. Hope you have a good one.
Okay, happy birthday to you. Okay, we're not gonna sing the whole song. Just that's all you get. It's the only singing you're ever going to hear on this podcast. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, let's move on.
Let's jump straight into the news. Let's jump straight into the news here. The first thing that we're going to talk about is Star Wars Jedi Temple Challenge. We talked about the reveal of this a while back. It was coming to Disney Plus. It had Ahmed Best. He was kind of like the host of it. Anyways, things have changed. So we got a trailer yesterday for this, and what's interesting is now the trailer is showing that it's coming to Star Wars Kids on YouTube instead of Disney Plus.
Which is very bizarre. That's
very bizarre. So anyways, it's going to be June 3rd. On Star Wars Kids, so that's accessible to everyone, and maybe that's one of the reasons they want it to be accessible to anyone. But again, this is kind of the show is basically it's like a kid reality TV kind of.
If anybody remembers Legends of the Hidden Temple, it's exactly that, but Star Wars version.
Right,
I mean, it's exactly it.
So, anyways, Ahmed Best, he's back. And, he's in Jedi robes, and and so if you're into that, or you got some kids that you think would enjoy that, I'm definitely going to show my kid this for sure. So anyways, that's June 3rd, Jedi Temple Challenge.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. I mean, I'm glad that they're doing something like that. I think I think it'd be really neat. And I know as a kid, if I watched that, I'd be like, oh man, I love it so much. I want to be on the show, you know.
Oh, sure, yeah, absolutely.
So I'm sure they're going to be.
I kind of want to be on the show now.
I'm not going to lie. I kind of want to be on there now. I saw a tweet. Somebody said, it's like, I'm watching this trailer and dude, I could easily beat all of these kids. Bring me on the show. So anyway, it's going to be pretty cool. Look forward to it. It is kind of odd that it's going to be on YouTube Kids instead of Disney Plus, but we'll go from there. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. And maybe it eventually will end up still on Disney Plus, but maybe to start out, maybe they wanted to try to get it on YouTube.
Get as many people interested as possible type
so
thing. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. All right, so our next news story for the week is pretty cool. And it's ILM Labs is partnering with Lucasfilm, and they both have announced that a new virtual reality action adventure experience called Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge is coming out. This is in production currently with Oculus Studios and will be coming out later this year. So we don't really have a defined date. But I do have a quote here from the article, and it says, "It will give players the chance to explore a new part of the Star Wars galaxy, as well as live their own adventure. And the original story will include new characters, but also feature ones they know and love." So that's pretty interesting. I know the Vader series on the Oculus was a very big hit for a lot of people, but this seems a lot more approachable. What do you think, Andrew? I think with Galaxy's Edge being, at Disney and stuff like that, it's, kind of more approachable.
I'm really excited about this. Give me all the VR experiences I can get my hands on.
Yeah.
I loved Vader Immortal. Super cool what they did there. This is the same studio. Clearly, this is just like their next project, what they've went to straight after they were done with Vader Immortal. And did you just hear like an explosion or something outside?
I think it's lightning. It is currently raining where we are, so...
Okay, it was just thunder?
I'm pretty sure it's thunder or lightning,
okay, it sounded very strange, but anyways.
Gunshots, who knows what's going on? I don't know.
Anyways, so this takes place on Black Spire Outpost, which, as you know, is like Galaxy's Edge at the theme parks.
Like Batu.
So I'm curious, if I'm curious if we're going to see like the park kind of
like
if you kind of walk through the park for those that can't actually go to the park.
It would make sense.
But it also talks about being like in new locations and on the edge of. Or wait, what does it say? It says it in a certain way. Let's see if I can. By extending the lore around Black Spire Outpost, it represents. No, that's not what I was looking for.
Well, while you're looking for it, I want to say this. I'll say this. I guarantee you, and this is just my opinion. I don't know this for a fact. I guarantee this was going to happen. What you see in the park will be like the home base that you can be at, but you're going to go to different places with the story. I guarantee you that's what it's going to be like. They have not confirmed that, but I mean, it just makes sense to me because there's going to be a lot of people, as you just mentioned.
This is what I was looking for. It is set on the outskirts of Black Spire Outpost. So that makes me feel like a lot of this might be not necessarily in the park, like where all of the shops and stuff are, but I wouldn't be surprised if you don't get to see it at least.
I wouldn't. Okay, so I mean, I'm very convinced, just in my mind, that you can go there. So either A, it's going to be part of like that's the home base, but you go to other places with the story, or B, you don't. And that's not part of the story, but you can just go there as a secondary option or something like that. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want to play the game, you just want to go to the Black Spire Outpost, you probably do that.
Now, this story is taking place in between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, and we already have multiple novels that took place on Batu in between those movies. So
right,
I think this will have to kind of intertwine with all of those other stories.
Sure. And
so I think that could also end up being really cool. Some of those characters that are in the novels that take place there are very interesting characters. Yeah, and it would be cool to see them overlap into this.
Yeah, and then any new entry into a virtual reality Star Wars universe, experience, that to me is awesome. I mean, I still haven't even played Vader Immortal. Yeah. I do plan on getting an Oculus Quest here in the next few months, hopefully.
Oh, please do.
I really want to get one.
That'd be fun.
But anyway, with that being said, it's going to be really cool. I'm excited. Hopefully, like I said, by the time this comes out, we can
and it says later this year. We don't have a release date as of now, but I would say probably fall, and most likely probably around the same time as Vader Immortal.
Yeah,
released.
Probably.
And then I'm going to go ahead and assume this will be episodes, the same as Vader Immortal was. So,
it makes sense to be that
be on the lookout for that. I think it's going to be really good. But let's jump into our next story. Our next story here is one that is very, very sad, and at least for me, it really
sad for most people.
Really broke my heart. I'm sure a lot of you who are into Star Wars have already heard about this, but the Star Wars: The High Republic has been delayed.
Ooh.
And because of current events, they decided it was best to move into 2021.
Yeah.
And I understand that decision. Of course, this being a new era in Star Wars, they want this to be as big and fantastic as possible. And if 50% of your people can't even get to a bookstore to buy this book when it comes out, that's going to be a problem for their launch.
And there's plenty of people who don't want a digital copy.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So it does isolate that
demographic
well,
I mean,
people,
even me, I mean, I don't get me wrong, I read books digitally as well, but like when it comes to Star Wars books, I get the physical copies. I like to read them that way, and I like to put them on my shelf, line them up in chronological order. So,
Nerd.
I know. So, anyways, I'm one of those people that want it, and so I understand why they are going to hold off. But let's talk about the new dates that we're going to get here. So, Star Wars: The High Republic, Light of the Jedi, which is the adult novel
It's like the
by
entry
Charles
into
Soule.
Yeah.
That will be January 5th, 2021 now.
Yeah.
And Star Wars: The High Republic, A Test of Courage. That's Justina Ireland's middle grade novel that actually comes out the same day, January 5th, 2021.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
And then the young adult novel by Claudia Gray, which Claudia Gray is the master Star Wars writer.
Right.
That's Star Wars: The High Republic, Into the Dark, and it will be released on February 2nd, 2021.
Yeah.
And then as far as the Marvel comics and the IDW comics go, they have not announced a new date for those yet. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm sure it will be around the same time.
Yeah, probably around the same area. Yeah, it is. I understand. That you got to do what they got to do with delays and things of that nature, and I understand since it's such a new installment, so different. They do want to make sure that it's the best conditions possible. It is stink, but we understand it. So
yeah, and the thing with the High Republic is it's a whole new era, and so like its success. If we're going to continue to see stories out of this, it's going to have to like make money and be popular and
for sure,
and people and like have people excited about and talking about it, and so it makes sense. It doesn't make me happy and I'm very sad about it, but it makes sense. But there is some good news to go along with that. So if you want to
referring to the book side of things here, the highly anticipated Thrawn Ascendancy was pushed up, surprisingly, for one of the first times in history, from October 6th to September 1st. So this book that everyone's been looking forward to actually is being pushed up, and we're going to get it sooner than we expected. So, Drew, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think this is totally because of the High Republic.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because, as we know, the High Republic novel, the adult novel, was going to be released in August. So now that it's not, they're like, okay, well, we can push this one up a little bit. And so that's great news. This is the first in another Thrawn trilogy. I think this one's called Chaos Rising. I don't really know what to expect with this book yet. It's going to be very interesting because it's a prequel to everything we've seen with Thrawn so far. And it's going to take place... It's almost taking place in its own little era because it's going to be away from the known galaxy, and I assume it will be even before the Phantom Menace. So it's going to be interesting.
That is going to be very interesting to see the progression of the timeline. I haven't got into Thrawn as much as everybody else has, and I do plan on it. But yeah, I mean, I know he's a very, very interesting character, and how his time span spans pretty wide, pretty wide berth there. So
it'll be interesting to see what Timothy Zahn brings to the table there.
Yeah, and he's a master writer.
He's another
too,
master. He's been one of the masters of Star Wars writing since the beginning. So
for sure,
whatever it is, I'm sure it will be good.
Exactly. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our rumors. So Andrew, do you want to go ahead and lace off on our first rumor here?
Yeah. So our first rumor is some more about our Star Wars animated shows. So as a while back, we talked about Rebels having a possible sequel. Now, we've heard that could be animated. We've also heard that it might be live action. But let's go ahead and say that it's animated for the moment, and that it's going to have the art style of Clone Wars, which we've also have heard rumors of. But in addition to that, we're now hearing, and this is from Corey Van Dyke of Kessel Run Transmissions. He has heard that there's another Star Wars animated series in the works that will have CG style animation, and then there's another one in the works that has 2D animation. So that's 3 Star Wars animated shows in the works right now, if true.
If true, right. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff going on at once. I mean, but hey, I'll take it. I'll take whatever we can get. In terms of Star Wars, and it doesn't surprise me if that is true, because although that seems like a lot, there is a lot of teams that could be working on it. And secondarily, we have 2 more years until we hear any, or not here, but until we get a movie. So I know that they're going to be wanting to try to fill that void as much as possible. So,
and you have to think, and I can't speak to this for sure, but I know that we have the Clone Wars animation team, right? And then we have the animation team that did Resistance.
mm-hmm.
I don't think they're all the same people. Now, some of those people may overlap in between both projects, but I'm fairly certain that large portions of those teams are different.
Yeah,
and so that would make sense that they're both working on CG projects. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and then as far as the 2D animation goes, well, we've already seen some 2D animation as far as like I'm not gonna remember what it's called. It's on YouTube, on YouTube Kids actually. There's a couple different.
I know what you're talking about off the top of my head, but
Forces of Destiny is one of them.
Oh, okay.
Forces of Destiny, and then there's also another one that I can't remember what they call it, but it's like almost anime style, and they're real short. They're only like a couple minutes long.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what it's called, but I know what you're talking about.
So, anyways, there's both of those, and so I could see that team doing something else,
right?
And so that would line up for 3 different shows in the works, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah, a lot of cool things coming. If true, of course, we don't know that's true, but I'm sure that we're probably, if they are within the next couple months, I'm sure we're gonna be hearing some stuff about that, especially around the time in which we would be going to Celebration, if it does or does not happen.
Well, and the rumors always were that this Rebels sequel would take place would come out in the fall.
Yeah.
So
well, yeah, and that's what we talked about before. Now, obviously, we haven't heard anything about it, so I don't think that's very credible at this point. But
yeah, I mean, none of this is credible.
Well, yeah,
this is all rumors. We have nothing. Well, we don't have any. Yeah, nothing to substantiate it. But
anyway,
but that's why we're in the rumors section.
Exactly,
and we can just talk and
freely.
just yeah.
All right. So, well, like I said, if this is true in the next upcoming months, we'll probably hear some more about that. But let's move on to another rumor. It's actually a pretty cool, exciting rumor. But there is rumors that a new Star Wars game will reportedly be revealed next week. And we've been talking a lot about Project Maverick, and this is something that we've kind of been rumoring as a new Rogue Squadron type game where it's like a ship-based, dogfight type style game only, where you only fly ships in space and types of that, So we've been rumoring that we're going to be possibly hearing about Project Maverick more next week. So there's a quote from comicbook.com that says, a new Star Wars game will reportedly be revealed next week. More specifically, EA's motives were previously leaked Star Wars Project Maverick will be revealed sometime very soon, presumably during the PS5 reveal event, which is reportedly going down on June 3rd. The news report comes way of known Star Wars insider and Cinelix, I don't know what that even says, Jordan Mason, who unfortunately doesn't reveal any further salient details about the alleged reveal. So, Drew, what's your thoughts on that?
So I totally think we're getting an announcement very soon. And because before this article came out, before I even saw this article, I noticed that EA Montreal had made a Twitter account.
Yeah.
And they just made it like yesterday or the day before that and just posted like hey, we're, this studio and we just want you guys to get to know us, blah, blah, blah. And so I hurried and wrote that down in my notes like we're going to have to talk about this.
Well, look at Inspector Clouseau over here doing some sleuthing.
I'm kind of proud of myself. Like I feel like I need to
pat myself on the back here.
So anyways, and then this article comes, which they don't talk about the fact that they've started a Twitter account in this article, but it's talking about the fact that they've heard that they're about to announce this game.
Yeah, exactly.
So I totally think the game is going to be announced soon. What I don't know is if it's going to be I don't know that it's going to be a part of the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 lineup or not. I think it would make total sense if it is. Yeah. But I do want to also, this article talks about the PlayStation 5 reveal event going down on June 3rd. That is not true. The PlayStation 5 reveal event is on June 4th.
Wow, comicbook.com, you liars.
June 4th. So that's a Thursday, and that let me see what time that's going to be at for all of you guys. If you just want to check in on it to make sure, if you want to see if it does get revealed. Hold on. June 4th at it would be 1 p.m. Pacific, so that's 4 o'clock our time.
Yeah. So yeah,
Eastern,
keep
4
your eyes and
o'clock
ears
Eastern.
up on that. We're going to be hearing about something, whether it's Project Maverick or not. I highly expect to be hearing about something.
Yeah, so Project Maverick, we'll be hearing about it soon. May not be at the PlayStation 5,
right?
But it may be there, so
Yeah.
keep your eye out for that.
So next, we got a rumor that we can give to Andrew here, but I know he's kind of excited about this. So go ahead and lead us off on that.
Yes, yes. So
Yes.
This first part of it is not a rumor. This is something
Right.
that's happening. It's coming out. That would be that Darth Revan and Darth Malak from Knights of the Old Republic are getting Funko Pops.
Whoa.
Yes,
That's
I've
pretty
wanted
crazy.
this for so long.
That's pretty crazy.
I have quite a few Funko Pops. I've not bought any for a while, but I already have quite a few of them, and so I will definitely be getting the Darth Revan one.
Right.
But the reason why we put this in rumors is because it's just interesting that we're getting this,
Right.
and we just kind of wonder what could this possibly mean.
Well, and it makes you think, why does Disney allow Funko Pop production of a Legends character? You
Right.
know,
We don't see a whole lot of that.
and not very, very much at all. It's obviously, namely, these new canonized
Which,
characters.
technically Revan is
Technically,
canon.
yes,
But the appearance and stuff that we're getting here is totally the Legends, like Revan.
Exactly,
I mean,
yeah.
it's based off of the video game and what they've shown since then. And then Malak really surprises me
yeah,
because Malak, I don't even know if Malak is canon right now.
I
don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know that
Let's
he.
see.
Well, I mean, we've gotten because Revan only just became canon.
Yeah. Let me think here. No, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know that he is.
I don't believe he is. I don't know that we've had any reference of Malak in canon.
Yeah.
So for now, he's completely a Legends character, and we're getting a Funko Pop of him.
So I guess the rumor part of this is that, what is this alluding to? Is it just completely coincidental? They just wanted it, or is this meaning that there's going to be something more in the future?
So there's two ways to look at it. One way is they're highly beloved characters in the Star Wars universe.
Right.
People have been asking to get Funko Pops of them for a long time. So it could just be a coincidence, and they're just trying to please fans. They know people will buy them,
Right.
etc.
Yeah.
Or it could be alluding to something that's in the works.
And that's what I like to believe.
and we like to believe that just because we want Knights of the Old Republic.
Right, exactly.
Though I will. So it could just be kind of trying to get talk going, get the, but at the same time, does Funko Pop truly in the know? I don't really,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah, I mean they're really giving this random toy company the inside deets.
I don't think Star Wars is necessarily telling them anything, but here's where Star Wars could be saying, "Hey, we want you to make a Revan and Malak Funko Pop for us."
Yeah, exactly.
And that's all they have to say.
Yeah.
But it could technically still mean more on the Star Wars side of things.
Exactly.
So it's just something to look out for.
sure.
Even if it doesn't mean anything at all, I'm still going to have a Revan Funko Pop, so
and that's
I'm
all
happy.
that really matters. Exactly.
It will be in my room. My wife will not like it, but it will.
I'll
It's
have to
going on my bedside.
bow to it every morning and evening, 3 times a day.
Bow to it.
All right, so let's go ahead.
He doesn't see me at the kitchen table and I'm eating cereal, and Revan's sitting next to me with his own cup of coffee and cereal.
And then you hear Tara in the background. Can I please sit at the table? No,
That is Revan's chair. We
Revan's
talked about this.
we've talked about it.
Oh my.
Yeah. So
Okay.
before you get in trouble, let's go ahead and move on to releases. So Drew, you got anything for us this week?
Yeah, so in releases, we have the next episode of Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian, will be on Friday. And then we also have a book release.
Wow.
And the book release will be on Tuesday, and that is Star Wars Queen's Peril.
Yeah.
So
We have more to say about that later. But
we'll actually be giving a short non-spoiler review of that as our main topic today, and we'll be getting to that in a little bit. No comics right now still. It's going to be just kind of slow for a while, but that's the only thing we have in releases.
Yeah.
So.
All right, let's go ahead then to our Q&A. So as you guys know, we post a Q&A forum every week where we ask you guys to bring us questions, topics, and more. As you guys, like I said, also may know that we typically try to do 3 questions, topics, and suggestions a week. If ever more, we put them into a queue. But we have so many, and this is a good thing, but we have so many piling up. We have like 20 questions. So we are going to do 6 of them today. And we're probably not going to make a post next week and do like 6 of them then because we have so many. But that's a good thing. We love to hear it. We love you guys' questions.
We love getting all of them.
It's so fun. So yeah, so if we move through these a little quick today, forgive us. If there's not the super in-depth answer you're expecting or wanting, forgive us. But we're going, because we have so many questions. But let's go off on our first one. So this week's first question comes from Stuart Soprano, and he asked, "Will Ryan Reynolds ever become a Jedi?" Honestly, Stuart, I'm just gonna have to say no on that one. I mean, is it possible? Like in some way, sure. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think Andrew made a good point before our podcast today, and essentially said, he's so ingrained as Deadpool that I couldn't imagine Disney bringing him over as a Jedi.
Well, yeah. See, with Star Wars, they often use character or actors we don't know or recognize.
Next thing I was going to say,
to kind of keep us in the world, in the Star Wars universe.
Exactly.
Kind of keep it. And so when you get a face like Ryan Reynolds, which everyone knows, he's very, very popular. He is now completely known as Deadpool, no matter what he's in.
And he has a very specific character type,
Right. To throw him into Star Wars is just. I don't think it really would work very well. I know for me, it would take me out of it if I saw him.
Exactly.
And so, they did do Samuel Jackson, which you could argue is the kind of the same kind of does the same thing.
Maybe.
But George Lucas is no longer making the decision.
Well, and plus this was back in the early 2000s with the prequels, and they have their own set of misgivings, So.
Right. So I have to agree with you, Braxton. I don't believe that this is going to happen now. Like 30 years down the road. I mean, he might then.
Might be dead.
But I'm saying right now, as he's already he's connected to Disney now as Deadpool.
Yeah.
Because they own the rights to that now.
To Marvel and all them. Yeah.
And they're saying there's something in the works as far as another movie goes. So I
would
don't
be very
think
surprised at that. I'd be very surprised if something came out.
Incredibly shocked.
So yeah,
if he turns out to be a Jedi.
Let's answer the question like this: is it impossible? No, but if it happened, I would be very, very, very surprised.
If it was ever to happen, it'd be like a very short cameo, and he's like in the background or something.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be like a main role or anything. You know what I'm saying? So. Okay. So anyway, Stuart, hopefully that answered your question. Our second question actually comes from the 757 Hustle Show. We got to talk to them. I did at least a little bit on our big stream day for May the 4th. So anyway, we liked each other on Facebook and stuff, and they've been interacting with each other over the time. Anyway, so they actually sent in several questions. So we're going to kind of do since they sent like 5 questions, so we're going to do like a lightning round to kind of just bounce back and forth between you and I on these questions real quick, just so we keep it fair for everybody else too. But 757 Hustle Show says, do you prefer Legends or Disney canon? Andrew, go ahead.
I'm going to go Legends.
I'm going to Legends too for many reasons, but if you want us to ever expand on that, on these answers, we will. But for now, we're just going to give a short answer.
I'm going to say one little thing to add on to it, though. The only thing I'm going to add on is that Disney canon is growing still. It has a long way to go before it ever reaches the span of Legends.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying anything necessarily bad against Disney canon, but
but we grew up with Legends. It was already a huge established lore. Right. So anyway, that's why we prefer it. All right, second one. Which legend storylines would you like to see brought over, if any?
So
Go ahead.
Well, Knights of the Republic.
Yeah, I mean I think that's both of our answers again. Like I mean,
yeah,
Knights of the Republic. I mean, that's pretty obvious. I mean, 'cause that's the only thing that hasn't been touched on or wouldn't really even interfere with lore. You know what I'm saying?
Right, and a lot of the other ones that I would say can no longer happen. A lot of them take place after the movies. And now all of that has been changed due to the sequel trilogy.
Well, a lot of my big favorites of the Legend stories was, of course, like post Episode 6, where we get Luke and Mara Jade and so on and so forth. And we couldn't have that even if we wanted. Those, so. Obviously, with like Jedi Knight, like Outcast or whatever. I can't remember exactly what it's called. But anyway, but Kyle Katarn and all that, like that couldn't even hardly be in there either. So Knights of the Republic is probably the best, easiest answer for both of us.
Agreed.
Number 3, who would you like to see in Mandalorian? I mean, there's a lot. We've kind of talked about that a little bit last episode, the episode before that. I just like to see Boba Fett was a huge one I'd like to see. And if we could, of course, Ahsoka and Rex too. So,
yep, I'm in agreement.
Okay. Number 4, have you heard of the BBC radio dramas of the original trilogy? Tons of extra dialogue and scenes included. So, personally, I've heard of it. I have not personally
Same. I've heard of it, never listened to it. Honestly, I probably never will.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not real big on audio books or anything. Like I can't. I have to read it myself, or I don't retain any of it.
Also, though, I don't think that those are like canon. So, I mean, it's one of those things. Like it'd be cool to listen to, but I don't know that if there is extra dialogue,
there is
extra scenes,
things. Right?
It's not even a canon anymore. So, I have heard of it. I don't think I will listen to it though. Just personal opinion. Last but not least, are Wookiees all skinny looking if the fur was shaved off? So this is precedented in Solo.
Yeah.
I'll just give you my take, and Andrew, I can bounce over to you. My take is this: A, would they look obviously skinnier? Yes. Mm-hmm. B, do they look as skinny as they did in Solo? Probably not, because those are malnourished Wookiees enslaved on that planet for slavery. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, I think Wookiees are pretty muscular. I think they're pretty bulky even without fur. And yeah, the ones that we see in Solo are malnourished and not, they're in bad shape. Yeah. So I don't think those really count.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good precedent to set for all Wookiees.
Exactly. No, I think they're kind of like I think they're kind of built like like gorillas, or how gorillas got fur, but they're pretty big jacked. Anyways. I think that's how Wookiees are.
Yeah. So all right. So that ends up. So the 757 Hush Show. We appreciate your guys' questions. So we're gonna move on though. Our third question comes from Kristen Perry, and she asks, "What are the requirements to be or could be considered a Grey Jedi? Do you think it's possible that we could get a Grey Jedi story?" So I know we've alluded to this a couple times on our podcast before, but honestly, to be a Grey Jedi, there's not any set solid precedent as to what we, in canon anymore. But to be a Grey Jedi is obviously balancing the light and the darkness and kind of getting your outside of the bounds of either one, right? Not following any tenet or dogma of the Sith or the Jedi,
Right, and like we've said before, the closest thing to a Grey Jedi we have in canon that comes to my mind is like Quinlan Vos, someone that kind of treaded very closely to the dark sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. He was never really a big follower of all of the Jedi teachings on the light side. So.
Yeah, and she says, is it possible that we could get a Grey Jedi story? I would say it's possible, but at the same time with Disney, they like to push the Jedi versus Sith type thing even more so than we've seen.
I think the stories are possible, but they're not going to call it Grey Jedi.
Yeah, they wouldn't call it that for sure. Yeah.
The whole Grey Jedi thing is pretty much been a fan created idea. Yeah. It's not really something Star Wars I think they've ever wanted to be called Grey Jedi. Yeah. And so I don't believe that we'll ever see that being called Grey Jedi. Yeah.
Even if they do have incarnations of Grey Jedi in persona, it would never be necessarily called a Grey Jedi. So
right, and again, I it's amazing how many times I bring up this novel, but in like Dark Disciple with Quinlan Vos and Asajj Ventress is very much the closest thing to that story. If Christian, if that's kind of like what you're looking for, like that's the novel.
Be something to check out for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so our fourth question, and it's actually more of a topic, but it comes from Frey Bo Sarvinsky, who says, review The Empire Striketh Back. It is ESB in Shakespearean text. So I've seen this multiple times. I know exactly what it is. I frankly have never read it before. But if that's something you guys want to see or hear, whatever, we will.
And so it's actually an entire series. They do all the movies. And I think the Rise of Skywalker one is going to come out here not too long from now. I don't believe it's been released yet. So, I mean, there's a lot of them, and I've never read any of them.
Yeah.
I hadn't, to be honest, I hadn't planned to read any of them. Mm-hmm. But again, like if it's something you guys want us to do, we'll do it.
Maybe we can do on the podcast. I can bring my old English accent in, and I can read you excerpts.
Read it. There you go.
Yeah. No. Anyway, that's what you want. Yeah. You go. It kind of flashed me back to my like middle school, high school, like English literature days where I had to like read Shakespeare all the time. You know. So
I mean, if you had to read it, it might as well be Star Wars.
Forsooth. Thy lightsaber will come. Anyway, all right. It's like more like the Beatles or something. Anyway,
Beatles.
Johnny. Anyway, we have not read it, but if you guys really want us to review that or to hear us read out on the podcast, we can. So our fifth question comes from Alex Mason, who says, completely just a thought-provoking question of what if. What do you think of the changes of Anakin's destiny if Obi-Wan is the one who died and Qui-Gon trained Anakin? Is it possible that Anakin could have brought balance to the Force from the light side, or would he have been destined to the dark side? So let's go ahead and just say, like, we kind of touched on this a little bit, I think the last episode, but, or I don't remember which one it was. It's the last one before that, where we were talking about and reviewing Dave Filoni's comments on the second episode of the Mandalorian behind the scenes series on Disney Plus. Essentially, Filoni alludes to and pretty much confirms that, like, if Qui-Gon was alive and trained Anakin would have stayed with the light because he would have had that firm structure and father figure that Obi-Wan couldn't give him. Now, would he have been able to bring balance to the light side? Could he bring balance to the Force from the light side? I would still say yes, because as we've confirmed in the previous episodes, balancing the light and the dark side is actually not one Jedi, one Sith. It's actually basically all light side users, because anytime there is a Sith or a dark side user, that is bringing disbalance to the flow of the Force. So when there's no Sith, no dark side, that actually is balance to the Force. So
yeah,
Andrew,
I've been thinking about this a little more since we talked about it last week, and I started to wonder if Qui-Gon survived and made it to the events of the Clone Wars, I don't know that Qui-Gon would have stayed with the Jedi.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Just like we see Ahsoka leave, I think Qui-Gon would have left even before Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that he could have agreed with the way they handled things, the way they done things. I really don't know that he could have stayed.
And that's a good point. Something I've kind of roughly thought about as well, because he's already on the edge in Phantom Menace.
Right. He already doesn't agree with them. He already doesn't.
I mean, we can read in Master and Apprentice from Claudia Gray, there's this struggle between him and Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan wants to follow the rules hardcore, thinks that the council is the end-all be-all, but even Qui-Gon is like, no, they're just people, right? They're not the Force. They're not these gods. They're people who can be corrupt. And so, yeah, I mean, as we see, as the Jedi become more and more dogmatic, as they become more and more warriors rather than peacekeepers, I definitely, now that you bring it up, I do think that we would probably see Qui-Gon.
Yeah, and so if he did leave, what would have happened with Anakin?
Yeah,
would Anakin have left? Would Anakin have stayed? There's so many things would change if Qui-Gon survived and Obi-Wan died.
Mm-hmm.
So many things would change. It's kind of hard to really try to figure out like where things would have went. But I think one of the biggest things for me is that I don't know that Qui-Gon would have stayed with the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And so then let's say Anakin stays with the Jedi, then would Anakin just fell he would have still fell probably right into the trap of maybe even more so.
Maybe.
Because at that point, he doesn't have a brother or a father.
But see, the way I look at it is this, a little bit different, is that like Anakin was already in turmoil in his mind, right? And when you don't have that father figure to rein you in and teach you the core tenets and structures, as we see, he just follows whatever his heart desires.
Okay.
So my point is that if Qui-Gon did train him up and give him that father figure, even if he left or even if he died, he still has those teachings.
That's a good point. Good point. So like you're saying, he would have already kind of gained the teaching and
he would have been more
needed.
grounded.
That's a very good point. But my thing is, how long would it have been before Qui-Gon would have left?
Yeah, but that's the question, I think. Yeah.
But then at the same time, Qui-Gon maybe would have stayed and felt like he had a duty to protect and to, but I mean, I think Qui-Gon was a hero, and I don't think he would have sat by and did nothing.
Right.
But it could have been in the same way of Ahsoka, where he couldn't stay with the council, but then he's kind of doing things on the side type deal. I think it would have,
probably could have been very similar to that, I imagine.
But you know what? We'll never know.
We will never know.
Because he did.
But he did, yeah. So, but to answer your question on the more broad side, I think it was confirmed by Filoni that Anakin, probably, excluding the theory that he would have left the Order, Anakin would have stayed with the light side if he would have had Qui-Gon as master.
If he would have had Qui-Gon as master, yeah.
So our sixth and final...
If Dave Filoni says it, then we just have to believe it.
If Dave Filoni says it, we accept it as truth. So that's not even rumors. So. He is the apprentice to the master, George Lucas.
I don't appreciate the shade towards Obi-Wan, but that's a different story.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway... So, our sixth and final question comes from David Gill, who says, what is your favorite score from the Skywalker saga? John Williams is unreal.
My little baby brother, Davy Bell.
You have to say that every time?
Yes, I do.
I'm pretty sure, I think we already know what we're going to say, right? I mean...
Yeah. Right.
I'm trying to think of something stupid to say. I can't think of it. Duel of the Fates. I mean, like, I was trying to think of something dumb, but there's nothing.
It's always had a special place in our hearts.
I mean, you just can't. I mean, there's some like the dual. What's it called? The track where Luke is looking over like the sunset. The actual track's called like Dual Sunset or something along those lines or something. I don't remember. But there's some really good ones out there. But you really just can't beat Duel of the Fates. You just can't. I mean, with what's going on in that moment, coupled with this epic score. I mean, it's just the score itself mixed with the emotions behind it. You just can't beat it. So I think that's pretty much the on it.
I love all of them. They all have special meaning. They all mean
every song
so
has
much.
Something to me. Yeah.
Oh,
Binary Sunset is what I'm thinking of. That's what. Anyway.
But yeah, for me, I mean, Duel of the Fates was just a really special one, especially because it's kind of like the big one when we were growing up with Star Wars, kind of.
Yeah.
So like
for sure.
But of course, just like even just like the main title and Princess Leia's theme and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Or even the one what we start out with on our podcast is it's all. They're all so special in different ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think every one of them, like you said, I mean, we kind of already explained it, but every one of them holds some kind of special piece of our heart,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, like the Force theme is just so fantastic and it's so mystical.
That was what I was looking for.
Yeah, the Force theme is so good. I mean, I love the March of the Droids or the March of the Battle Droids or whatever that you see in Phantom Menace. Such a great one.
I mean, the Imperial March.
Imperial March. I mean, it's so iconic.
Yeah.
I do think with like Imperial March and with the Star Wars main theme, I think they're so iconic that you just see them for what they are as the icons of this, rather than just the pieces of music as they are. But
if I were to give you a 1 and 2, it'd probably be Duel of Fates and the Force theme are probably my.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it for me too. That or Binary Sunset for me. So. Anyway, but so hopefully that answers your question. So that concludes our Q&A segment for the week. We do thank everybody so very much for asking questions. Like, so we're probably not going to have one a forum next week because we still have a ton of questions.
They just keep on.
Yeah, but we thank you guys
keeping on
for asking those questions. We love them. It truly makes the podcast infinitely better.
Absolutely, it would be 10 times more boring if we didn't have those questions.
Right. I know. It would just be us two talking the entire time.
Rambling, trying to figure out something to say because we don't. So anyway, they are very important. We love having them. Continue to ask
and
away.
It challenges us to become better Star Wars fans.
True.
And research.
It tests us to make sure we know our knowledge or not. So. You guys keep pushing us.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, we're going to move on to our main topic for the day. And our main topic today is a non-spoiler review of Queen's Peril. This is a young adult novel that is being released on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And Disney Publishing, we have to say thank you to Disney Publishing for allowing us to have an early review copy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'll take just a second to explain what, like, the brevity, like I think we're just kind of brushing over this because we had our own moment, like, oh, this is so awesome. But explain to the folks at home how cool this really is.
Yeah, so I started to kind of like look into the early review process and things, and I discovered a way to kind of submit our podcast. I had to like write a bio about us and show a couple different proof that we have followers and all that stuff. And so anyways, Disney Publishing came back and approved us to do it, which is a big deal because they specifically say very boldly that it is for press only. The fact that we are considered press is a very big deal to me and Braxton. It's kind of mind-blowing that we're being considered a part of that group.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the only reason that we can be a part of that group is thanks to you guys.
And that's what I was going to get to. It's so awesome, but at the end of the day, this is because you guys continually listen, continually follow and ask questions and do all the things that you guys do. So we want to dedicate this review to you guys because truly, I mean, because you guys listen to us, we're able to do this. And so we want to do these reviews, get better, do more things for you guys too. So.
Yeah, and because had they gone like onto our our podcast and our Facebook and stuff and seen there was no interaction, no one following us, no one talking to us, they probably wouldn't have done it.
Exactly.
It's only because they've seen that people are talking to us, that we have a following, that we were able to do this. So a huge thank you to you guys.
And also just a little plug, continue interacting with us and following us. If you guys are listening and haven't liked our Facebook and Twitter pages yet, please do so. Also, if you guys listen consistently and you just don't really say much on the Q&A and you don't say, because you're just like, I just like to listen. Please, we encourage you to do so. It helps us. It's going to help you guys in the future. We get more cool stuff happen. So
plus, we just want to know who our faithful listeners are.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you
if
guys.
There's some of you guys that listen every week but have not ever like commented, go ahead and do it. We want to know who you are.
Just say hi. I mean, you don't got to do anything. Just like, hey, listen to you guys for a while. We appreciate that. We love you guys. So continue listening. So let's get into the review. So I had an unfortunate issue here. Since it's tied to one account, Andrew took the easy way and took the Nook download, and I couldn't use it. So I had to go through this crazy long
Kindle
or whatever.
Kindle.
I had to go through this crazy long like Adobe DRM download and download this weird like crazy code. And long story short,
I told you how to do it.
It didn't work. Okay, I did how you did it. It didn't work, and I had to go through many different things and finally got it. And actually, even all the ways that they told me to do it didn't do it. I had to find my own way. Long story short. He had this book longer than I did.
Long story short.
He finished the book, and I'm about only halfway through. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give my current thoughts as someone who hasn't finished the book, non-spoiler, of course. And then I'm going to kind of try to do maybe like a little bit of a interview style with Andrew.
Granted, just for everyone, if you want absolutely nothing... If you don't want to know anything about this book, then now's the time to go. Because
we're not going to spoil.
We're not going to spoil necessarily the story, but we are still talking about the book, so you will learn some things about this about it. So, just to let you know.
Okay, so to start off with my thoughts, because as someone who hasn't completely finished it, but I'm probably about halfway through, if I'm not mistaken. First of all, I was coming into this as a YA novel, as just like, it's a YA novel. I read a couple of Star Wars YAs, and it was just like. The writing was, not great and it was kind of cheesy. But I will say, with Queen's Peril, with E.K. Johnston, she's done a fantastic job with getting easy to understand but mature writing. Yeah. And that's a great combo. Like it's you don't read it. There's not complex thoughts and big words and stuff. So it's easy to understand and follow. But yet it's mature in how she communicates. And I think that's
Yeah.
a huge thing for me, especially. I also like that they brought in a lot of familiar characters. I'm obviously not all the way through, but there's some familiar characters that we run into, and she does those characters very well.
Yeah.
There's some certain phrases certain characters say. Like I said, not to be, I'm trying to be vague, obviously, but there's certain phrases these characters say, and she includes those in just like little places, and it's just like nice little nods that like she's respecting the lore and stuff, which is really cool.
Sure.
Now, I'm going to let you talk about this more, but one thing I wanted to hit on is that it really showed me some very interesting new details about Naboo and their political standings and things of that nature and how they operate. But I thought that was really interesting. For instance, one of the things is why she has her handmaidens and what their purpose are. That was something new I didn't know about. And the last thing... I want to say sorry, I'm trying to read here my notes. And to kind of plays on to the mature writing is that she kind of flirts or hints with ideas. I can't really explain what I mean too much without exposing some of the characters, so I don't want to do that. But she never comes out and just explicitly like, oh, you're just a dumb kid. You don't know what you're talking. You don't know anything about Star Wars, so I'm going to explain all of this to you. She hints to pieces of Star Wars lore, and it just expects you to know that. And to me, as a big Star Wars fan, that's actually, it feels good because you're like, oh, I know exactly what she's talking about. She's not coming right out and saying X, Y, and Z, but it was really nice to know that. So that's the biggest things for me. So I do have some questions to go back and forth, but Drew, do you want to just go over some basic things that you really liked and things of that?
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know anything about Queen's Peril, it's a story of how Padme becomes Queen of Naboo. That is the main...
Spoiler alert! Okay.
That's the main, the focus of the story. And it's I will say it's a very feminine-focused book.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's clearly written for a young adult female.
Right.
And...
I related to that very closely.
So you'll find very quickly there's a couple different like scenarios in the book that are talking about very female things and issues. That's how I will word it. That were a little. It was moments like that I was like, wow, this is definitely
not for a
this
boy.
is definitely meant for females, but. It's a prequel to Queen's Shadow. This novel takes place in the year 32 BBY, so not long before The Phantom Menace. And while the focus is on Padme and how she becomes queen, it's also heavily focused on her handmaidens and their relationships, and especially Sabe, which we know is a pretty important character as we go past... even this and Queen's Shadow. And so what I was not expecting was how this story ends up being much more than just a prequel to Queen's Shadow.
Yeah. For sure.
What is very interesting about this is, and this is why I wanted to let people know that don't want to know anything at all to go on, because I am revealing a little bit, but it's not like necessarily spoilers for the story. But this novel ends up being also a prequel to The Phantom Menace. It is not just a story about Padme becoming queen, but it is clearly a prequel to The Phantom Menace in many different ways and how things are moving along in the story. And so... But not only does it lead into the movie, but it eventually overlaps and starts to show things from new perspectives. Yeah. And so that was so surprising to me. It completely caught me off guard. I didn't expect it. And so like it starts to, like for example, a scene in the movie where like, let's say, I can't remember the line, but like one thing Obi-Wan's talking, and it's literally line he says in the movie. And then he walks away, and where that scene ends in the movie, in the book, it continues on. And so you kind of just see some extra stuff, some filler. Yeah. And so...
I didn't know he was going to mention Obi-Wan, or I was going to say something about Obi-Wan, but... Spoiler alert.
Well, I mean...
You kind of have to expect it, I guess.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'm not... Listen, I want people to read this book. And the only way people are going to read this book is if they know this stuff, because had it not been for like what I'm doing with the podcast and stuff, I don't know that I would have read this book.
Okay, well, you know what? Then if you're gonna say that, then I got something I gotta say then.
Okay.
Because we get to see the interaction to some extent between Padme and Palpatine, and so in a very generic way, I would say that we obviously already know that Palpatine is Sidious, obviously. Mm-hmm. But what's really cool about this book that I was not expecting is that sometimes it shows Palpatine in the book, and it's Palpatine and as Sheev, as the senator. And sometimes, flip of the switch, next time we see Palpatine, it's actually Sidious.
I think that's a little more spoilery than what I said.
No, I don't think so. That's not spoiler because it's just obvious. It just makes sense.
I don't think that's as obvious, but well, we do get Palpatine and Padme and Queen Shadow as well, and so I do think them having interaction is not necessarily surprising, but but having perspective from Sidious is maybe a little more surprising. But anyways,
I don't think so. But anyway.
But yeah, but what's cool, you mostly read this book from Padme's perspective, of course.
Yeah,
a lot of it. But what is really neat is it ends up getting into the heads of like around at least 10 other people. And so you read from around like 10 other people's perspective, and some of those are really neat and really cool surprises that again you just don't expect.
All right,
and I'm not going to go into every single name or anything, but
I got a couple questions for you here.
Okay.
So overall, what is your overall thoughts and opinion of the book, having read it, coming in with pre-expectations and things like that? How has your expectations changed, and what is your overall thoughts on the book?
So, as I said, I think this is absolutely a female driven book. They wrote this book with young adult females in mind, and so I came into this book expecting it to be that. However, what surprised me and took it to the next level for me was all this additions, the different perspectives, the kind of being a prequel to the Phantom Menace, and then just all of the additions to the lore and canon of Star Wars is kind of what brought it to the next level for me. And so I was actually ended up being quite pleased with the story.
Sure. Okay, cool. So next question. How has this book changed your view of Padme as a character? Or has it?
I don't think it's changed my view on Padme at all. I feel like Padme is a pretty strong character.
Sorry, I had to do it.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize you kept going.
So she's a strong character, and very much like her mother.
Yeah.
And I think everything that you already know and feel about Padme doesn't really change here. It only just
compounds,
just strengthens.
So
that.
now, I mean, on the corresponding thing, how has your opinion or viewpoint changed on any of the supporting characters, like such as the Handmaiden, Panaka, any of these characters?
Again, not by a lot. And the reason for that is because I kind of gathered a lot of their relationship, and even with Panaka and stuff, through Queen Shadow.
Ah, okay.
Now,
gotcha.
Reading this, so see, like how you talked about the Handmaidens and stuff, and it kind of being surprising to you. It wasn't for me, only because I had already read Queen Shadow, and they already kind of brought that to your attention and brought how they work and how they do things. And so that's what's interesting about this one coming out later, because I mean, it makes total sense to actually read Queen's Peril first.
Yeah.
And then read Queen Shadow.
Sure. Well, I know for me, Sabe, reading about her and stuff like that, seeing her backstory, like I said, it gives you some brevity to that character. Like, you just see her in Phantom Menace and so on as just this throwaway character, but it really gives her some flesh and bones here. And, and really, it explains as to how she's alike and how she's different from Padme, how they gel and don't gel. And I don't know. I thought it was really cool on that.
Well, and you look at Queen Shadow, And I'm not going to necessarily say any spoilers, but Queen's Shadow, some of the things that happen in Queen's Shadow actually impact the current Darth Vader comic, right? So like they're serious about the canon of these young adult novels and how they interconnect with other things. And so like, if I were to suggest anything, I would read Queen's Peril, Queen's Shadow, and then you might want to jump into the most recent Darth Vader comic.
Yeah, that'd be
for those of you that would be interested. That's how I would suggest that you do it.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Basically, I had another question, but it's kind of I pretty much know your answer on this. But basically, I was gonna say, and lastly, how has the book changed your view of Star Wars and its universe as a whole? I mean, if the characters weren't explosionarily different to you, I'm sure it didn't change the Star Wars universe too much to you.
I wouldn't say it changed it very much, but I do appreciate just the little things that it adds to the prequel or to the Phantom Menace.
Right.
I mean, if you were to read this, you just get little tiny things here and there that just add to it. And seeing like the Trade Federation kind of starting before it starts in the Phantom Menace, you know what I mean? Little things like that are kind of neat. And again, you just kind of see like, since we already talked about Palpatine, I can say this, but you kind of see like, you see his plan being put together in this. Yeah. And seeing like what his intentions are. And there's one line he says in this to Padme that's very, very good. I really like it. I'm not going to talk about it yet. Here in the future, once this has been out for a little bit, we can of course kind of bring up some of these things. And but there's one line there that he says that it put a smile on my face because it's just like okay.
Yeah, I see it.
But yeah, I wouldn't say it's any huge eye openers, but it's a worthy addition to the Star Wars lore for sure. And as far as if you have ever had any interest in Padme, this is absolutely the series to go to. And
I'd also add, like I said, I've only about halfway through the book, but I would say even if you don't even, you're not super crazy about Padme, but you want to know more about Star Wars just culture, and like Naboo for instance, you really get to deep dive into Naboo's culture, Naboo's government structure, and that doesn't sound pretty cool, just saying it like that, but it really was. It was interesting to see how it was structured. Like I'm not going to explain it because some of it may be surprise to somebody, so I'm not going to say it. But how their government was structured and how they chose a queen was very interesting to me.
Right, and and so again, this is her becoming queen. If anyone's interested, if you then go into Queen's Shadow, it's about her transitioning from queen to senator. Yeah, and again, that's a very interesting thing. But I will say, Queen's Peril ended up being a much better book, in my opinion, than Queen's Shadow.
Really?
Yeah. Overall, I would say Queen's Peril was a lot more interesting. I feel like Queen's Shadow was very, very focused with young women in mind, which again isn't a problem. I think that they're trying to get that. They're targeting that audience, trying to get that age group and. Excited about Star Wars, and there's of course nothing wrong with that, but this one I feel like she still focused on them, but added in a little extra for someone like me, who is just a 26-year-old male, but it's like she wanted to kind of make it a little bit bigger audience this time around, and I really appreciated that and enjoyed what she added this time around. So.
All right, cool. Well, that is going to probably conclude our review for the day and for our podcast. Just know that we actually have 2 more of these coming right off the bat, and we don't know that more may be added. But we do have 2 more book reviews that's going to come up on future books, not super soon.
I think we'll be doing both of those in August.
Yeah, so but just know that they are coming. We do have 2 more books on slate, and like I said, and we're trying to get Del Rey stuff, of course.
That's still in the works.
So who knows?
Not
Maybe
exactly sure what's going to happen there, but
yeah, we're working on it.
we're working on it.
But hey, if you guys want to hear more of this kind of stuff, new book release reviews and things of that nature, of course, continue to interact with us, follow us, like us, share us, because the more we grow, the more we're going to be able to do, of course.
Right.
But with that being said, we want to thank everybody. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say again, a big thank you to Disney Publishing for allowing us to receive a review copy to be able to do this. So.
Absolutely. But like I said, with that being said, we want to thank everybody so much for the continued support towards this podcast. And we absolutely look forward to hearing from you, however you interact with us. So please like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter for weekly news, polls, discussions, and more. And also follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And of course, leave us a review. We would love to hear from you guys, what you think, what you like, don't like, and so on and so forth. But thank you for listening, and join us next week for episode 20.
Oh,
wow,
man.
The 2-0. This is pretty crazy.
It's insane.
We guys, thank you for listening. Last but not least, may the Force be with you, and we thank you for joining the Jedi Eternal.